Hey guys!
Welcome to a not so overdue episode of Us in Limbo. Recently put a video up for the first time about 7 months last week regarding styling and stuff. People might have been expecting a wardrobe tour this week or even more styling. We'll be doing that either next week or the week after. I'm just waiting on a parcel from Japan, so I'd rather have, I guess, that kind of stuff in that video instead of having to do like a latest pickup video. And so I kind of want to avoid that as much as I can, but
more stuff to style with as well.
yeah, exactly. So jumping into things here today, we're going to be talking about basically
fabrics.
Yeah, fabrics and their use in high
Textiles.
fashion. Yeah, textiles. Great topic, I think. This is something that I actually quite...
Very invested in.
I wouldn't say invested, I'd say pretty interesting. Yeah, I think it's a really nice topic. I think it's something that a lot of people don't, I think, take into consideration a whole lot of the time. They just see like maybe buzzwords thrown around and stuff like that. So in terms of, I guess, what we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about the ethical process behind a lot of fabrics. We're going to be talking about the properties of them, some examples, like why they're used, and some examples, of course, to go along with why they've been used in high fashion for the most part there. We might also touch on, I guess, why they're used in maybe some fast fashion stuff as well. But for the most part, we're going to be talking about high fashion. First thing, when we go into that kind of area there, ethics and stuff behind fashion, fashion naturally is one of the worst polluters when it comes to sustainability / eco-friendly, kind of, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Bottom line is it's not good for the environment. The way I see fashion is that trying to buy sustainably is, for something like fashion, is
very difficult.
Very difficult, yeah.
Almost redundant.
Almost redundant, yeah. It's definitely not redundant, that's not the right word to use, I'd say, but it's definitely very hard to do and build like a nice wardrobe in terms of, I guess, designs you want, because, like, again, you might look at a designer and be like, hey, this is really cool, but it's not ethically made. It's not made from, like, you know, like ethically sourced cotton.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like,
linens.
it's made out of plastic.
Yeah, like quite literally, yeah. So basically it's hard to do that when it comes to fashion, so I tend to try and not buy fast fashion. I try to buy secondhand if possible. I invest into my items and then sell things off. I don't throw things out really when I'm done with them, so I try and, I guess, contribute as best I can in regards to that sort of stuff there, which is the biggest, I guess, when it comes to being ethical, I guess. Yeah. Just making sure you are, I guess, doing the right thing with your clothes and getting them from the right areas there. And
if you do, like, of course, want to purchase fast fashion, because the price range is a lot, you know, it's considerably like cheaper, like, learn to really like love the clothes and like wear it out instead of like throwing it away after like 2 wears.
Yeah, it's fine to be on trend, but it's more so, I think, the process of buying the clothes, you should be taking into consideration that there is a lot of waste involved with that sort of stuff there. So jumping into things today, we're going to be going over basically some of the more processed fabric, or just fabrics in general. Obviously, we're going into literally every single fabric ever made. We're going to the most popular ones you will see on wash tags. Yeah, most common ones when it comes to fashion and stuff like that. Basically, you have 3 different areas that I would classify. So you have synthetic fabrics, in between a synthetic and a natural fabric, and natural fabrics. Synthetic fabrics, you could probably boil these down into 3 different ones. I'd say would be like plastic kind of fabric, which is like polyamide and polyester, spandex and acrylic. I'd say these are probably, and nylon, of course. Those all are kind of like the biggest ones when it comes to synthetic fabrics, I'd say.
The most versatile.
Yeah, so basically these fabrics here, they aren't good for the environment. The biggest thing they all have in common would be that the fact they aren't really biodegradable. So basically it won't ever go away if it's in a landfill. Getting rid of these can result in a lot of pollution as well.
Thousands of years of, like, it'll take thousands of years for it to biodegrade, so it'll just stay here forever,
exactly.
Basically.
Yeah, so that's like one of, I think, the biggest thing when it comes to waste. That's like it pollutes the environment there, and it kind of obviously creates that kind of just that, I guess.
Landfill.
Yeah, landfill.
Thousands of acres of landfill.
Yeah. So basically, these are one of the worst of the bunch here. People see polyester, polyamide, nylon, stuff like that. They'll see it in clothes and then kind of like not want to buy it because it has these in it. They don't want to support these synthetic fabrics. Totally fine, you can do that. So, in regards to, I guess, bad for the environment, cotton is definitely there. So, cotton uses an insane amount of water to be produced, to actually be processed, not only to grow it. So, it's not really, I guess, super eco-friendly in that sense there, where it's using obscene amounts of water. not to mention the dyeing process behind it as well. This is another contributing factor to the polluting element to actually get your clothes to be the color you want them to be. Dyeing it is a huge impact as well. And then something that America can probably talk about a little bit more will be BT cotton. I never actually heard of this until recently.
So there's large corporations in the textile industry that take advantage of third world countries and invest a lot of land in producing cotton farms that use a lot of pesticides that are obviously like bad for the environment, but of course bad for the people who do work in these farms, and they result in like their families and them basically getting cancer in a very like a rapid speed because of how strong these pesticides are when you are producing such large quantities of cotton for such large industries, and like how fast paced the fashion industry is now. So imagine how unethical it is for these families to have to live like this because of this like constant churning of production in like the cotton industry. So
yeah. That's I guess something that I wasn't aware of there, and bringing my eyes like Jesus. So just because it says cotton just doesn't mean it's eco-friendly. It doesn't mean it's good for the environment. It's still pretty not great. In between synthetic and natural fibers, I would say these ones are very heavily processed fibers. So we've got things like rayon and fake leather. Fake leather more along the lines of the recent really surge in popularity, which was I think Pinatex, I think it's pronounced. It's made from pineapple leaves. And it basically creates like a vegan-friendly leather, which is really cool. But again, it requires a lot of processing, which can, I guess, put it in between. Tier rayon, basically there's a few different subcategories as well. So rayon kind of branches off into viscose and tencel as well. These are like subcategories of rayon. But yes, those are basically made from bark and bamboo. One of the bad eco-friendly kind of things of these fabrics is that obviously deforestation to get the fabrics to make this sort of stuff. And of course, the lots of water you need to actually make them as well. Branching into natural fibers, you have probably the most common ones here being like wool, linen, mohair, cashmere, and hemp. Silk as well is kind of one of them, but silk isn't used a whole lot in, I guess, more common, I think maybe in higher fashion
production. Silk takes a lot of time to produce because you need the silkworm to actually dye each individually. They're all like very small, basically like an inch each, and that's like not a lot of fabric, so you'd need thousands of silkworms to produce a little bit of silk. So that's the reason why it's quite considered luxurious.
It's also quite spenny. So but yeah, so basically all these fibers here are more natural along the lines of that. They don't actually need a whole lot of processing as far as I'm aware. Basically it would be washing the fabric, making sure we're washing the fibers and making sure they're safe to, I guess, produce, and put them into a weave essentially. So weaves again are another part of fabrics that people aren't a whole lot, I guess, super aware of. They'll just read wool.
Yeah, there's different types of weaves. Like wool isn't just knitting, like wool can be woven as well.
Yeah, so you can have a bunch of different weaves. You can have like drill, twills,
jacquard, jersey. They're all different types of weaves that help you hug the body in different ways. So.
Yeah, it's just more the way the weave has been, I guess, formed, and I guess tensile strength as well. Yeah. So basically, the weight as well also plays a huge factor. So in saying that, like a cotton drill or a twill would be used quite often in workwear, or even, I guess, more just kind of
like outerwear jackets.
Yeah, something a bit heavier there. They're usually quite heavy, these are. And then you have things more like gabardine. Gabardines were pretty popular kind of fabric among Yoji. Weave. Also in Prada gabardine, they use nylon for that. And it's quite thin, quite light, but it's also quite strong. So basically here, in terms of ethics and stuff, it's pretty ethical outside of mohair. Mohair, I know, has been pretty exposed recently due to the animal cruelty side of things there. So again, if you're buying any mohair and care about ethics when it comes to polyester and stuff like that,
I have to consider things.
Yeah, just consider the way, I guess, you are thinking about stuff when it comes to that area. So when it comes to, I guess, these fabrics, we can go over some properties and whatnot of them there, and basically what they kind of, I guess, are used for, or even, I guess, maybe some common properties of the actual fabric itself. So we'll go through the synthetic ones first, and then we'll go into obviously the in-betweens, and we'll go into the full natural fibers and stuff like that there as well. Polyester, this is probably the biggest one as well. Polyester, polyamide, these are probably the two most common names for this kind of tense fiber. Basically, it's probably the most versatile textile that comes when it comes to fashion. It can be really light, it can be really thin, it can be really heavy, it can be really strong.
Can basically mimic organic fibers.
Yeah.
So,
That's one of the benefits of polyester and polyamide. Of course, it's not very eco-friendly, but again, it's very good at what it does. It's also very, like, it's not very breathable, so it kind of traps heat in, so it can be good for insulating and stuff as well.
maybe wearing it in summer, you might notice you sweat a little bit.
Yeah, you get a bit soggy. Not ideal for summer kind of wear
it's not
polyester.
very breathable, yeah.
Yeah. In saying that, it can be woven with a bunch of other fabrics as well to create more stronger textiles, and basically, it's basically just like a really versatile and diverse kind of material when it comes to fashion and stuff like that. There, I'd say it definitely has a lot more applications than people would think. So we'll kind of go over to those once we do actually use examples in high fashion as well. Nylon, kind of similar area there where it's quite structured. It's very thick, it's very strong, obviously a synthetic fabric, but again, this has some more, I guess, technical traits to it. I would probably pull them, like it's a bit more waterproof, it's very durable.
A lot of athleisure brands and like more, I was gonna say tech, but
I'd say tech. Techwear definitely kind of branched that
uses
range there as well. Same with Gore-Tex. Now, I
Yeah.
don't actually know what Gore-Tex is, if I'm being honest. I don't really care for the entire tech side of things. That's why I haven't really looked into it at all.
So like Prada uses a lot of nylon, as you can see, like their recent collections got that nice sheen to it, and it's got that water resistant like attribute. I feel like water resistant is used very loosely, but it's like around that realm of being able to have water droplets go down your clothes.
Yeah. Spandex, this is like another natural, like a synthetic fiber here, otherwise known as Lycra. Lycra was the brand that actually invented spandex, as far as I'm aware as well. So basically, spandex is more used so in like sportswear, that kind of stuff there. Leggings, like maybe undergarments. I'd probably say is a good way, maybe I guess describe it, like stuff like that. Yeah, where it's extremely durable, it's extremely stretchy, and that's pretty much the main, I guess, allure to spandex. You basically weave it into other fabrics as well to give those fabrics a bit more stretch to them as well. But yeah, that's pretty much for the most part with spandex. You don't really see it much in high fashion, I'd say.
I guess it depends on the type. Like Marine Soleil probably uses.
Yeah, Marine Soleil probably uses a lot of spandex and lycra and stuff like that. There, that's probably
a lot
more
of
women's.
bodysuits.
Yeah, more women's side of things use more spandex than men's. That I'd probably be, I guess, looking at and stuff on the daily. And then when it comes to the next one, we've got cotton. Cotton basically is, again, like the organic fiber. But again, it's pretty similar to, I guess, polyester, where it has a lot of different ways to be used. It can be woven different ways, of course. All these fabrics, for the most part, do have these different ways it can be woven. Some work better than others, but cotton is kind of again, it's very versatile.
You can have cotton coats, you can have cotton jackets, pants, shirts, like, it's very, very open to change.
Yeah, exactly so. So basically, cotton can be used for pretty much anything as well, and it's no real, I guess, certain kind of thing it's forced into. Into those, I guess, in between ones, you have like obviously the rayon and whatnot. These ones are more so used for shirting, I'd say, more than anything. Button downs, dresses, skirts, something that have like very loose kind of, I guess, look to them. There, this is something that you'll be able to go over in a bit further as well when we use examples in high fashion. Rayon as a property, it mimics silk quite well, obviously at a much cheaper standpoint and also a much more accessible standpoint as well. Because like I mentioned, Mary mentioned, silk, to get a small amount of silk is timely, yeah. Also expensive, of course, like I mentioned. But yeah, it's very light, it's very flowy, great for summer, but it does kind of trap your, again, body heat in. It's not very breathable, but again, it's very light, so it can be good for summer as well. Next one would be like in the more natural fibers, so wool. Wool is very similar to cotton, I'd say, in terms of applications.
Wool is very versatile.
You can use it for a lot of different things. I'd say wool has a bit more versatility than cotton. Yeah. As you will see a lot of it using boiled wool for that sort of stuff there. Yeah. Wool is quite nice and suiting. Wool can be used for shirts. You got merino wool. Merino is coming from New Zealand for the most part. This is
Australia.
Yeah. So basically, this is a really nice type of wool. I have a merino wool t-shirt that I basically only wear in summer. It's really nice. It was
super soft.
Very soft. Yeah. It's quite stretchy. It basically breathes really well, but it also keeps you warm. That's really one of the benefits of wool. It's very insulating, but it's also really good in hot and cold weather, because you think about where does wool come from? It comes from sheep. And then sheep obviously live in these kind of environments like Australia and New Zealand, where they can get up and down in terms of, I guess, temperature and whatnot. So they need the wool to adapt. So it happens in the fiber. So wool is very good at keeping you cool, but also getting you warm. Can be used in knits. It can pretty much be used in anything wool can be. You can get basically, you name it, you can probably get wool.
Wool is also fireproof. That's why
100% will be fireproof. Yeah, so it doesn't actually
wool.
burn. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't actually have anything that's got like wool nylon, wool cashmere. You cannot. That won't protect you from a fire.
Yeah. Next up, we'll go into like linen. Linen is a natural fiber. It comes from a plant, flax. This one is pretty popular along the brands that basically have a. It's just pretty popular in brands now these days, I'd say. It's basically
spring and summer. It's very popular.
Yeah, spring and summer. It breathes really well. It's very soft. It's not soft. It's very coarse.
Yeah.
Linen is basically with linen. It's one of those textiles that I personally, and so can Mary, we can kind of just identify in an item right away, knowing what it is. It has a very distinct feel to it.
It's not the most versatile of fabrics in terms of weave because of like it's almost like a gauzy weave.
Yeah, it's very the weave is very loose. Like for example, if you look at anything that's linen, you'll be able to see the threads themselves. Yeah. Opposed to maybe like a cotton where it's almost looking like a very flat fabric, along with polyester as well.
And like linen fibers usually have little bits of like little dots in them, I'd say, and you can kind of see like how they've like the fibers of the flax you can kind of see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best way to say it.
Also creases very easily, so it looks very
organic.
Yeah, you can kind of it's very identifiable. Yeah. Mohair and cashmere, these ones are mostly used in knitwear as far as I'm aware. Cashmere for the most part. I think you can get cashmere t-shirts and like turtlenecks, stuff like that there.
It's very luxurious fabric as well.
Yeah, I know.
It takes a while to produce as well.
Yeah, mohair can be woven into other fabrics. Like I own a pair of mohair wool trousers that are actually technically water resistant. And Mary has a few pairs of acne trousers that have wool like mohair knitted into them as well.
And I've got mohair wool knitwear from work as well, and they are very, very itchy. I think that's very consistent in what mohair is, though, regardless of what brand. It's very itchy.
Yeah, I would say definitely any fiber that comes from a animal would be a little bit itchy depending on how well it's processed. Mohair usually is not as processed as wool when it comes to fabrics, I would say. Which is why you kind of get that fuzzy look to it, so it can be quite itchy. That's personally my experience with mohair. I don't actually like wearing mohair upperwear, as my skin doesn't like it.
Yeah, a lot of people are also allergic to mohair, which is fair.
Yeah. So branching into now some applications in high fashion. For the most part, I would say fabric choice is definitely not overlooked by designers and stuff like that there. It's definitely... I would probably say 90% of the time, it's never a designer's choice of skin pattern fabrics, which is why they are choosing these cheaper fabrics like polyester or polyamide. So basically, this ties into the, I would say, vision of the designer.
Like fabric choice is one of the very first parts of what you have to consider when you design. Like you've got a mood board and you've got your fabric swatches that you've got to like feel and see what can produce, like what can be sewn to produce what you've designed.
Yeah. So it's definitely never like an overlooked thing and like, oh no, this designer is using a bunch of nylon, this designer using
like,
polyester.
Oh, it's lazy or cheap. It's
So you have to kind of think that designers are more in depth than just making clothes. They have a whole, I guess, like theory. They have a vision behind their clothes. They have structure they want to achieve. They have shapes they want to achieve. Probably the biggest few ones that I would talk about this would be that shapes and stuff would be maybe Cray Green and also Com. Basically, a lot of the runways are quite spectacle worthy and they are quite conceptual. Yeah. And to get those shapes and structures they are displaying on their runways and stuff like that, you can't get that from natural fibers essentially.
It requires a lot of synthetic fibers and a lot of technical work to actually get these structures to actually stand up and carry itself like that.
Exactly, yeah. So basically nylon, polyester, polyamide, all very thick and sturdy fabrics and also lots of structure to them will be able to help with these shapes and getting them, I guess, achieved. It's not as basically as simple using, just use wool. Wool, you might be able to get, I guess, maybe a similar structure, maybe like a pressed wool or like a boiled wool where it's basically not really a weave, it's kind of wool that's been flattened.
With heat set.
Yeah,
but it's quite heavy as well, so they've got all these limitations to them, which is why they chose not to use these natural fibers and then they opted for synthetic fibers because there's
a reason why these designers have research teams when it comes to the best textiles to use.
And they can even make their own, like...
Yeah. One, I guess, that comes to mind when it comes to making their own would be maybe Issy.
Yeah.
I think Issy developed his own.
Basically, the whole pleats look all started by heat setting polyester together, and like without that heat set process of polyester, that exact structure could never be a thing.
Yeah, and as far as I'm
Yeah.
aware, he also actually developed the actual polyester used
Yeah.
as well, as far as I'm aware as
Yeah.
well. And if you there's actually a video I think on how he actually does it. He like rolls it up in like
Yeah.
in like this like paper thing,
Yeah,
and
and
you
he
roll it up,
scrunches-
and it looks really cool the way it's done. And again, that's kind of like the similar thing where to get that actually look,
Yeah.
you can't really use wool or cotton to get that kind of aesthetic. It won't have the same flowiness.
Yeah.
It won't have the same motion that they're looking
Yeah.
for.
And if you've seen a lot of dupes of these Issei pleats, you can see the way that it carries itself is exactly not the same as an original pleats pair of trousers. For,
Yeah, you'll be able to see
yeah,
the difference
the
between
way
very
it creases, the way it folds, it cannot replicate it at all.
Yeah,
so-
exactly. You can
yeah.
definitely see the difference between like a pair of Uniqlo ones that have been pretty popular recently as well, and a pair of actual like home pliss and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So basically, another design that comes to mind that would not use these these synthetic fibers would be Yoji. This is probably the designer who doesn't really use, I guess, like synthetic fibers. Of course, that's just like a generalization. There's definitely 100% ethical like design and stuff like that, like Story MFG and all that sort of stuff as well. When it comes to using recycled garments, you have Bode, Buy Wallet, both these companies using dead stock fabrics from like vintage stores, stuff like that there, upcycling stuff as well. But yeah, so Yoji basically doesn't use much polyester in any of his clothes at all. He mostly uses like rayon, silk, wool, like I mentioned, his traditional wool gabardine, along with silk. This is all coming into consideration with his form of motion. He loves to have things drape, and you can see it in his runways essentially there. It's like a big...
It's like the way they walk is a very important part of the clothes that he makes.
Exactly, yeah. So we already mentioned that. They use a little polyester as well. Another popular one I think that has been resurging is Kiko. This is my favorite designer at the moment, and I would probably say he's one of the biggest culprits and I guess at the hands of criticism recently, due to his amount of use of polyester there. This is really kind of overblown. He doesn't actually use that much polyester at all, opposed to some designers and stuff like that as well. And Kiko being the conceptual designer he is, a lot of his clothes do require that structure and shape to them there. The only real time I can think of a really heavy use of polyester and like polyamide and cotton, or polyamide and polyester, would be maybe his Autumn-Winter 17 season, 03, where it's basically lots of different shapes applied. They all have technical aspects to them as well, with workwear elements, so he wants to be durable and he has that heaviness and weight to it there. 04, I don't think there was much polyester at all, which was spring summer 18. Lots of Loro Piana wool was used in there. Some nylon were used, I guess, in the Loro sort of stuff, but again, not much, mostly cotton. 01 and 02 used Ventile, which is a cotton. It's like a weatherproof cotton or something like
Thick woven cotton.
that. 05 again used Loro Piana, lots of
nylon.
technical fabrics. 06, there was some polyester, but again, that was a very shape-worthy kind of season, and a lot of the fabrics were specially treated. 09, I think would be at the biggest discretion of this though. There is a lot of, I think, polyester and polyamide from what I've seen from, I guess, new season stuff that probably doesn't need it.
It's also recycled polyester.
Yeah, that's one thing as well. He
used.
actually uses a lot of recycled polyester with his products as well.
And he
so
states that as well.
Yeah. So I guess we've kind of, I think, covered everything today in regards to fashion and their uses and stuff like that there as well.
I feel like with designers, I think using the polyester does not discredit their work. It actually enhances a lot of their creativity and opens a lot of doors and opportunities for what they can produce. So the whole misconception of polyester being a really lazy thing to use is not exactly true.
Yeah, and I think the whole misconception about how ethical these fabrics are, they are using as well, is also a big misconception. So I think hopefully with this video here today, we kind of give a surface layer. We wouldn't say we went too deep into things today regarding,
Definitely
I guess...
read on your own and make your own judgments. But of course, love your clothes and take care of them and know how to dispose of them as well.
Yeah, exactly so. So in saying that, pretty long video today, probably close to 20 minutes, I'd say, after editing and whatnot. We're at 30 minutes for this recording now. We really do appreciate all the support. We're looking forward to getting back into this sort of stuff here. Wardrobe tour definitely coming, like I mentioned, in the week or next week or two.
More styling
And some
as
more
well.
styling and stuff like that there as well. If you guys have any advice, any tips you guys want to, I guess, give regarding video quality,
Please tell
anything,
us.
we always want to be improving. And in regards to, I guess, any content you guys want to see, feel free to give us a shout. Maybe we can do some, I guess, runway analyses. Probably not really. I'm not really good at that sort of stuff. I'm basically unga bunga. I look at the clothes I like it. It's pretty much
I
me.
feel like we're very subjective people as well. I think everyone is, so...
Yeah. But yeah, so regardless, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for, I guess, watching if you are at this point here. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for watching.
Safe.
Stay safe from COVID and whatnot here. Have a lovely day.
Bye.